Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining our Buddhism meeting this morning. So what we're going to talk about is gongyo. As SGI members, we are taught to do gongyo twice a day. But why do we have to do it twice a day? So people might or might not know, so we're going to talk a little bit about it today. But let me first start with the meaning of gongyo. What is gongyo? Well, gongyo, which forms the fundamental basis of our Buddhist practice, could be described as a ceremony in which we bring the golden sun of Buddhahood to rise in our lives each day. The first time a person hears about Nichiren Buddhism, we only hear about the phrase Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. But then later, they'll hear something a bit more complex, which is the recitation of gongyo, and learn is an essential aspect of daily practice. I remember when I first started to practice, I only knew Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And then I was attending a ceremony, a funeral ceremony for some members, and I saw a member next to me, and everybody started saying something interesting which I could not follow. And then at that time, I was thinking, what are they saying? I wish I could do it. And later on, my experience was, I was not taught by the member who introduced me to the practice. She did not tell me that I have to do gongyo, and she only said Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And then later on, a senior member said to me, she said, why don't you do gongyo? I said, why do I have to do it? Why do I have to do it? Well, chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo has already given me a lot of benefits. Why do I have to do gongyo? And then the member's husband challenged me. He said, Lydia, why don't you start to do gongyo for 3 months? And then tell me the difference between now and then. So, I always face up my challenges. And because he challenged me, I started to learn gongyo and started to do it. Interesting enough, within 3 months, in less than 3 months, I can feel the difference in me, not in the physical appearance, but in my thinking. My thinking is very different after doing gongyo. My mind becomes clearer. So then I know the benefit of gongyo. And since then, I've been doing it every day. Okay. Sensei has called gongyo a ceremony in which the microcosm of our lives harmonizes with the macrocosm of the universe. It is a solemn ceremony through which we open wide the doors of the treasure storehouse within, and we tap an inexhaustible source of wisdom, courage, and compassion. Even so, this daily practice can be difficult to sustain without knowing its significance and the real benefit. Today, in this issue, SGI addresses some of the most commonly asked questions about our practice of gongyo, including, what is it? How its practice came about? And how it helps us reveal an unshakable heart. So, what is gongyo? Gongyo is a Japanese word, means to exert ourselves in practice or assiduous practice. As SGI members, gongyo consists of chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and reciting portions of the 2nd chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the expedient means, and the 16th chapter, the lifespan. We do this once in the morning and once in the evening. So what is the difference between chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and reciting gongyo? Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo can be likened to the main course of a meal, while reciting the sutra is a side dish. Sensei explains that we need to eat from all sorts of foods if we want to have a balanced diet. Consistent practice of gongyo enables us to lead the most balanced and healthy lives in perfect harmony with the universe. Well, there are 28 chapters in the Lotus Sutra, but why do we only recite 2? Nichiren Daishonin was asked about this question by a female member of the practice. As was the practice in her day, she had been continuously reading through the sutra, 1 chapter a day, and then began reading only the Medicine King chapter. While praising her efforts, Nichiren explains the formula he had established for reciting the sutra. He said, although no chapter of the Lotus Sutra is negligible, among the entire 28 chapters, the 2nd chapter, Expedient Means, and the 18th chapter, Lifespan, are particularly outstanding. The remaining chapters are the branches of and leaves of these 2 chapters. Therefore, for your regular recitation, he recommends that you practice reading the prose section of the Expedient Means and Lifespan chapters. The remaining 26 chapters are like the shadow that follows one's body. Question: what am I essentially emphasizing when I recite the prose section of these 2 chapters? The Lotus Sutra's 28 chapters can be divided into 2 parts. The first 14 chapters are referred to as the theoretical teaching, and the 2nd chapter, Expedient Means, is the central pillar. During gongyo, we recite the opening and most important part of this chapter, in which Shakyamuni Buddha reveals that the wisdom of all Buddhas lies in the awakening to the true aspect of all phenomena, which teaches that all people are Buddhas, and that the Buddha's mission is to lead all people to enlightenment. Sensei writes, you, yourself, are a Buddha. Respect the son of Buddhahood in your own life. This is the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Now, come to our everyday life. I have asked some members, I said, you are a Buddha. Do you believe it? And they are all shocked. They don't believe that they are Buddhas, which means that they are not practicing right. If you believe that you are a Buddha, then whenever you come across obstacles, you will not be afraid because you've got all these values in your life: wisdom, courage, compassion, good fortune, and peace. We all have this in this is what we call Buddhahood. I think a lot of people misunderstand that Buddhas are somebody high in the sky with a lot of powers, like they can perform miracles, etc. But in fact, we are all Buddhas. Everybody is a Buddha because we all have our highest potential in life. So please, in the future, if you do come across any problem or anything that you cannot achieve, just believe that you are Buddha and you can achieve anything in your life. And actually, this is the main teaching of SGI and of Nichiren Buddhism to help us believe that we are Buddhas and we've got all the power of the qualities of a Buddha. The last 14 chapters of the Sutra compose the essential teaching, and the core is lifespan. The 16th chapter reveals the heart of the essential teaching, which explains that Buddhahood is eternally present in the lives of people and declares the great dignity and power of each person's life. When Mr. Toda lectured on the lifespan chapter of the Lotus Sutra, he explained, "Since I attained Buddhahood, Jiga Tokuburai, which is the gongyo," he explained the meaning of each word, clarifying that the phrase means to attain on one's own the three bodies of the Buddha, which means that we are originally a Buddha. Sensei recalls, when we heard this, everybody was taken aback. In the phrase, Jiga Tokuburai, which we read many, many times without clearly understanding, the two characters, Ji and Toku, now stand out conspicuously. He thus taught that Buddhahood is a state of life we achieve from within, and Buddhahood inherently exists within our own lives. The recitation of the expedient means and lifespan chapters of the Sutra every morning and evening constitutes a practice that enables us to identify and praise the Buddha nature within. Sensei writes, when one recites the expedient means and lifespan chapters, it increases and accelerates the primary practice beneficial power. Question. I heard that gongyo used to be longer but was condensed. Yeah, I think 20 years ago when I first started to practice, the gongyo was quite long, especially the second chapter. It's very, very long. But later on, it was shortened. So the question comes about, why is it no longer so long and condensed? And Sensei explains, formality is not important. There are no rigid formalities of gongyo laid down in the Daishonen's writing. What counts is that gongyo refreshes and invigorates your life. Just as a morning walk or jog may be pleasantly lifting for both the body and the mind, doing gongyo a day is personally satisfying to you, one that leaves you feeling refreshed and uplifted, both mentally and physically. But why do we do gongyo twice a day? We do certain routine every day, such as eating morning breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sleeping and brushing our teeth is our routine. Similarly, we need a daily practice to enhance our spiritual health. Sensei says that reciting the sutra is a daily activity in which we purify and prime our hearts and minds. He says, for example, that in the morning, it starts our engine for the day. Some people have powerful engines, and some have weak engines. The strength of the engine affects what we accomplish throughout the course of our lives. Diligently applying ourselves in our daily practice of the sutra boosts the power of our engine. For example, in our daily lives, it's just like filling our car with petrol. Without petrol, your car will not move. And with not enough petrol, your car will not go far. So filling your car every day with petrol will help you go far and keep going longer. The path of our lives is determined by what we do and how we live each day. Our practice of morning and evening gongyo is a driving force for continually improving our lives. But how does gongyo increase our life force? When we recite the Sutra and chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with faith in the Gohonzen, we vigorously infuse the microcosm of our individual existence with the life force of the macrocosm of the entire universe. Practicing this consistently, morning and evening, strengthens our inner core. Sensei writes, as practitioners of Nichiren Buddhism, we get up in the morning and do gongyo. Some perhaps may do so rather reluctantly. Oh, I have to do it. But nevertheless, doing gongyo is a truly great and noble thing. Gongyo is a solemn ceremony in which we are looking out and over the universe. It is our dialogue with the universe. Doing gongyo and chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo before the Gohonzen represents the dawn, the start of a new day in our lives. It is the sun rising. It gives us a profound sense of happiness in the depths of our being that nothing can surpass. In the morning, gongyo is a wake-up song that causes the sun to rise in our hearts. And in the evening, it's a moonlight sonata that illuminates our hearts with the light of the moon. Morning and evening, reciting gongyo to the Gohonzen enables us to rise up and lie down with the Buddha. Call forth the great life force of Buddhahood and powerfully manifest in our daily lives. Well, in short, in the morning, when we do our gongyo, we pray that we will be able to happily fulfill our daily responsibilities and be able to have the power and blessing to overcome any obstacles. In the evening, when we do gongyo, we give thanks to the Gohonzen for the blessings during the day and for all blessings we have received. In fact, when I do gongyo morning and evening, I always thank the Gohonzen for all the blessings I have. Not just for myself, for my whole family and my younger generation. This is why my younger generation are doing very, very well. Question: what happens if I miss gongyo? Ultimately, the most important thing is to carry out faith throughout your entire life. Sensei clarifies that as long as we maintain faith, now we repeat, faith, F-A-I-T-H, is most important in our practice. If we have faith, we will not experience negative effects on account of occasionally missing gongyo. In fact, he assures us that with faith, the seed of Buddhahood will continue to grow. However, Sensei also says that the degree to which we assert ourselves in faith will determine the kind of benefits we gain. Doing gongyo is a right, is our own right, and not an obligation. Because Buddhism entails practice, persistent efforts are required. But these are all for your own sake, for your own happiness, for your own life. If you want to have great benefits or to develop a profound state of life, you should exert yourself accordingly. Gongyo enables us to polish our lives, and as we challenge ourselves to do it morning and evening, we can activate our highest potential, eventually establishing Buddhahood as our fundamental state of life. Now, I have always explained to people that we have great potential. Everyone has potential in their lives. And that, in Buddhism terms, is our Buddhahood. We all have it. We all have potential. But whether you can bring forth your potential or not is the question. And then, Nichiren Buddhism has given us a very precise way to bring forth our Buddhahood. That is by chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and practice the theories of Nichiren Buddhism. Sensei says, with our daily practice, we can be in rhythm with the universe 365 days a year, in spring, summer, autumn, and winter, manifesting the vigor, wisdom, and good fortune with which to surmount any problem or suffering. When we accelerate the powerful, revitalizing engine of Buddhahood, we can break through any deadlock and boldly steer ourselves in the direction of hope and justice. Well, in common daily terms, when we do gongyo and chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, we are in rhythm with the universe. Now, we are part of the universe, and there is a rhythm that lives follow, everything follows in the universe. For example, this is what we call the mystic law also. It's a law that we don't understand, but it's there. So the rhythm of the universe, or the rhythm of life, which means that what we're doing without knowing why we're doing it. For example, there are 365 days per year and 24 hours a day, and there are seasons like spring, summer, autumn, winter. Okay, so if we are in harmony with the universe, we always do the right thing at the right time. For example, we sow seeds in the spring, we try to fertilize and water in the summer, and then in autumn, we will harvest the good crops, and then in winter, we let the soil and ourselves rest. So we do things the right way and at the right time, and of course, your life would be easy. This is what chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo will help us in our life. We are always able to do the right thing and say the right thing and meet the right people at the right time. It's very interesting. Now, if you know this, you try to experience it, and then you realize how mystic it is. But this is what we call good luck. But if you don't follow the rhythm of the universe, you always do the wrong thing, you say the wrong thing, you meet the wrong people. For example, if you sow seeds in autumn or in winter, the seeds will die. It will never come to fruits. So this is why chanting is so important, that it brings us back to the rhythm of life. Another thing is, we sleep at night, we wake up in the morning, have breakfast, go to work, and then come back home and rest and have dinner and then go to bed. So this is a normal rhythm. But a lot of people don't follow this rhythm. They stay up all night playing games and watching TV and then sleep in the morning. And some unfortunate people have night shifts, so they are not able to sleep at night. I tell you, these people get sick very, very easily because their body is not in tune with the universe. Okay, let me go on. The more we exert ourselves in the practice of morning and evening gongyo, the more we stand to gain. And the spirit of challenge to keep chanting, given a little bit more today than yesterday, is the hallmark of Buddhist practice. So I really hope that everybody who is in the meeting today will try to do gongyo morning and evening, just like a routine in your life, because we need fuel for our spirit and for our mind. Now I'm going to give you an experience of a member in Canada. He says, when I was 11 years old, growing up in Ontario, my parents joined a religious group, one that was very strict. Over the next 5 years, as I was developing my own individuality, I decided that if I wanted any sense of freedom of thought, home was just not that place. I had a very hard time following the rules. Now, again, this is very common in the family. The parents will say, you can't do this, you can't do that. It was all, can't, don't. When I was finally thrown out of the house at 16, I started smoking cigarettes. For the next 22 years, I took on drugs, taking acids for days on end, as well as getting addicted to cocaine. Amazingly, I was able to keep working and hold down jobs. The drive was very simple. If you have no money, you have no drugs. Adding to this, my first marriage was very volatile because of the amount of liquor we consumed on weekends. Each weekend was filled with our arguments and screaming at each other. It often felt like madness. By 1974, I decided to move from Ontario to Vancouver as an escape route from my marriage. I was smoking 3.5 packs of cigarettes a day, in combination with all the other drugs I was pumping into my body. At the rate I was going, I thought I would be dead by 30. It was then, at 31 of age, I was introduced to Nichiren Buddhism. Later, I received my Gohonzon. In Nichiren's writing, he states, there are 2 types of illness, minor and serious. Early treatment by a skilled physician can cure even serious illnesses, not to mention minor ones. Karma may be divided into 2 categories, fixed and unfixed. Sincere repentance will eradicate even fixed karma, to say nothing of unfixed. Well, actually, last Saturday, in my Chinese meeting, I did talk about fixed and unfixed karma. The smoking and drug problems could be considered fixed karma because I struggled with them for decades. However, throughout all that time, I still possessed a strong spiritual seeking mind. Over the years, I had studied many other religious faiths, both Western and Eastern. I also studied psychology. The various practices that I tried all promised to assist me with my problems and provide me with happiness. But it didn't work. Nichiren Daishonin says, the Lotus Sutra is like a great physician who can change poison into medicine. Now, I just thought of something I want to share with you. Long time ago, a very senior member in Australia had, I think it was liver cancer, and he and his wife went to Japan for guidance. And later on, when I saw the wife, the wife told me that the guidance she received was, well, a person is not sick if he is mentally strong. A real sick person is when this person is mentally sick. Now, please try to think about this yourself. If you are mentally strong, even sickness would not bother you. And that senior member, in the last days of his life, I saw him in our meeting, and he was still encouraging younger members. He did not look sick at all. But there are a lot of people who are not physically sick, but there's something wrong in their thinking, including me. I had such a difficult life, so I wasn't actually, how should I put it? I was not happy to say this. Because I was not happy, I was always sick. And then even doctors cannot find out the reason why I was sick. And then they gave me Valium to help me calm down. I was very nervous. I was anxious. And then I thought I was very sick. And in fact, I felt that I was sick because my stomach hurts all the time and I couldn't sleep. And that was very sick because I was mentally sick. But later on, when I started to practice and when I continued with my practice, I talked to the Gohans and I said, I want energy. I want enough energy to be able to do my daily chores, to do Kosen Rufu, and to enjoy life. And once I started chanting with that determination, my health improves and keeps on improving. And also my father, when he came to Australia, he did say, Lydia, if you are happy, then you are not sick. Then the sickness will go away. And this is how important our mind takes on our body. Okay, let me go on with the experience. The member says, I definitely saw genuine proof of turning poison into medicine in my practice. When I came across a hypnotist who was giving seminars about quitting smoking with a money-back guarantee, my buddy and I were laughing at what we were going to do with the money from the guarantee, thinking that, well, it's not going to work and they will get the money back. Because we never thought it would work. Oddly enough, I went from smoking 3.5 packs of cigarette a day to none the next day, and without the usual symptoms of the shaking of the hands, the trembling of the hands, the need to eat. It was like a switch was flicked in my brain, and my brain began to change course. It also came at the right time because my lungs physically hurt from so much smoking. That was March 8, 1992. I was truly impressed. Then, a month later, I decided to stop smoking marijuana. After all, I smoked enough for about 3 lifetimes. Tell you another experience. My son Kevin, he used to smoke. But then, interesting enough, after practicing Nichiren Buddhism, he told me, Mother, I think he read an article about smoking, and after reading that article, one night, and the next day, he stopped smoking. 100%. This was very interesting, isn't it? Maybe the article sparked the wisdom in his life, and the chanting gives him determination and courage. And then he quit smoking the next day. This was very impressive. Nichiren continues, when I prayed for my mother, not only was her illness cured, but her life was prolonged for 4 years. Now you too have fallen ill, and it was all the more timely for you to establish steadfast faith in the Lotus Sutra and to see what it will do for you. Well, talking about myself, my mother, 20 odd years ago, my mother had aneurysm and he fainted, and the doctor said he cannot operate on her because of her age. And so my mother stayed home waiting to die, because if it bursts, then she will die. But then later, a SGI member went to her home to teach her chanting. And as soon as she started chanting, she told me that night she slept very, very well. And she began to eat, and she became stronger and stronger. She was able to go, after the doctor diagnosed her aneurysm, she wasn't able to go out. As soon as she went out, her whole face became red and she started sweating, so she stayed home. But after chanting, she was able to resume her daily life, and her life was prolonged for 7 years. So this is how great this practice is to everybody and to my mother. So let me go on with the story. The challenge to see what it will do for me was one I couldn't resist. So I threw myself into SGI activities. I assisted members who were coming to meetings in the freezing cold, making sure there was no accidents and that they were safe and comfortable. Once a month, I looked after the cultural center in the evenings as a member of the volunteer group that supports SGI activities at the centers. Let me tell you my story again. When I was at the lowest point of my life, I started volunteering to do cleaning for the center in Hong Kong. There was a group member doing this, and there was a leader. And I was so unhappy that when I was sweeping the floor, I asked the leader, I said, well, what does it do? What does it do for me to clean the center? I was doing it because I know it's good, but I don't know why I have to clean the center. I want to do it, but I don't know why. And then this leader told me, she said, when you clean the center, you are making a very nice place for other members to have meetings, and you are cleansing your life. So this tells me that we do have to contribute our effort to helping SGI centers. And when I was in Australia, I went to the center every Thursday to clean the lobby, the kitchen, and the toilets on my own, without anybody telling me. I just went there and started doing all the cleaning job. And the benefit I received was, one day, the editor of the magazine saw me, and she said, Lydia, you should not hide behind the broom. So would you like to help me with my magazine to do proofreading? And I was taught right from the start of my practice. The member said, whenever SGI asks you to do anything, say yes. So I said yes, because I wasn't working at that time and was willing to help. And then because I contributed to not reading, but to proofread the magazine, I was invited to the annual dinner in December. And I was able to invite my son Kevin to the dinner also. And when the editor saw Kevin and knew that Kevin was studying creative art, she asked if Kevin would do the artwork for the magazine. And my son quickly said yes. And from that point onward, Kevin's academic results was getting better. Before that, he was struggling. But after contributing to helping the magazine, wow, his academic results were getting better and better. And at the end, he was able to graduate with credits. So this is how contributing to SGI activities help yourself. Because you are putting out good energy to help people, and what goes around comes around. And good results and good energies comes back to you. Okay, let me go on with the story, the experience. After my brother died, I went through some intense grief therapy. I realized that I could let my father know how I felt when I was growing up under his strict religious beliefs. I decided to send it to him, to write and send it to him. Some days later, I received a phone call from my father. He said that I was no longer his son and that I should never call him again. I spoke to one of my seniors in faith in Vancouver, and he encouraged me to keep chanting for things to change. However, my father was 3,000 miles away, and I had serious doubts that chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo could fix this situation. In the end, the only thing I could do was to put the guidance I had received to test. I chanted for 6 months, and then, out of the blue, my father phoned me. It was at that point that I realized that chanting is not bound by time nor distance. The power of chanting is universal. That was the beginning of a much healthier and normal relationship with my father. When I moved from Vancouver back to Ontario, I was able to see that we had a deep respect for each other. When my father was close to death, my second wife, Denise, and I held his left and right hands respectively. We were chanting quietly, and I was watching his breathing. He was in so much peace. It was truly amazing to watch. I believe that I found the practice of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo just in time. I also believe that it has prolonged my life for 40 years. I now turned 71 in 2022, in the 40th year of my practice. This is all I have to share with you today. And it strengthens the fact that we have to trust in our chanting. No space or time can affect or decrease the power of our chanting. And we have to trust. Thank you everybody for attending my meeting.